Yes, my name's Andy Baker and I'm the Managing Director of adult touch and tag rugby company called Tries Rugby.
And just a little bit of background into Tries, where it started and what level it's at now.
Well, Tries actually started by, a few years ago I was asked by one of the five-star football centres to help sweat their assets because obviously most of their revenue comes in the evening. So I did a bit of work for this five-star operator and various things went forward, some didn't, some did. But when I actually sat outside one of those centres and thought, right, how is this replicable in other sports? The first sport I came to was the sport that I was in, was rugby. And obviously touch and tag rugby is both union and league. So that's where we first thought of, the future and, a series of rugby centres across the country. We only think there's a market for about 50 in rugby hotspots, because obviously we're a much smaller sport than football. So that's where Tries started, and then Tries developed partnerships with clubs, and we ran various pilot programs, adult touch leagues. We've run some corporate city events. We've run some various other participation programs based around touch and tag rugby, and that's where it started. And it's grown from there. It's evolved, and it's very similar in a way to the five-star football market, and also the tennis market. And operators like Goals and David Lloyd, they all started this way, where they were seen as commercial, and they got various support from governing bodies, but it never really sort of partnered up until much later into the business. And we think, rugby being a different sport, we think we can partner up with those organisations a lot sooner, because it's all about investment.
Mm-hmm. And how do you just talking about your objectives just now, how do you sort of measure performance at the moment in the stage that it's in?
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, being commercial, it's a financial performance, and we've generated a range of partnerships with professional clubs in a consultancy capacity, in helping them develop their participation structure, and obviously that's linked to some of their foundations. So we've worked a lot with various foundations over the last 3 to 4 years. But in terms of performance, at the end of the day, we're trying to drive income and revenue, so we become sustainable, so we can carry on programs rather than just running touch rugby programs through the summer. So we're an all year round operation, and mainly we try and run touch and tag rugby programs indoors in the winter and spring, and then we go out onto the 3G pitches in the spring and summer. So our objectives really are financial, and being a startup, that's where we're looking to try and drive growth, and we see the opportunities for growth being very extensive, going into Rugby World Cup year.
And just touching on those financial objectives, how are you going about funding at the moment and sort of becoming a sustainable business?
Well, for the first 2 years we were self-funded, and with various non-executive directors who were all involved with us and have supported us over a number of years now, and also a whole range of other rugby companies who see the synergy with us. They've given us fantastic support. In terms of the future, we're now looking for sort of second stage funding, and we're looking to raise £150,000 for a certain equity. We've got a current promotion with ex-players and current players who are looking to diversify and think to the future about what their career is going to be about. We've also attracted quite a lot of attention from corporate sponsors looking to sponsor us in a different way in Rugby World Cup year. And also at the end of the day, private investors, business angels are looking now to invest, and we've gone onto a crowdfunding platform called Seeders, and it's one of the main crowdfunding platforms. A couple of other rugby companies have been funded that way, but being a startup, we've got to demonstrate that we've got a credible business plan, good management team, and obviously good partnerships going forward. So yes, investment's the key to this. In the past, touch rugby and tag rugby certainly has been very much a sort of village cottage industry. And now we're trying to commercialise it more. There are some companies around the UK, one in Ireland and one in London, doing quite well. But it's all about investment for us, and partnering up with big professional clubs to drive the products through the fan base. That's the key advantage that we have, and that's what we're trying to do in terms of taking our business forward.
And just touching on the Seeders model that you mentioned just now, how would you say that's going so far in terms of rewards and investment?
Well, what happens, we've got about we've got a £150,000 target. With the crowdfunding mechanism, you either you either succeed in raising it all or you don't get any. So at the moment you have 65 days as a window, and we're probably about a third of the way into that. And we've raised about 25 grand so far. We've got another sort of 15, 20 grand in pledges that people will be putting in over the next sort of couple of weeks. Obviously just coming out of the back of Christmas, New Year. So yeah, by the end of January we would like to be in a position where we've raised about 50,000. And then the key with this crowdfunding platform is that a lot of investment doesn't actually come in until about the last 10 days of the pitch, which is you know, difficult to manage, but it's just the way that process occurs. People watch you on the crowdfunding platform, and then if they see it grow as the pitch grows, then they put their money through. The thing about seeders and this whole crowdfunding thing is it's tax efficient through the SEIS scheme. So if people do invest, there are big personal tax benefits.
What would you say are the main benefits to potential investors going forward?
Well, obviously with Rugby World Cup year, investors have the opportunity to invest in a company that's going to have a fair amount of press and will have a profile, and also commercially return on investment. What we're looking to do is roll out Tries Rugby programs in these adult touch and tag rugby leagues across various venues, and we're really focused on Bath, Bristol, Exeter, Worcester and Gloucester, and Leeds with our long-term partnership in Leeds. And the idea is to grow the business. The core revenue is adults playing touch rugby in the evenings on good facilities and good 3G services. So the projections are, you know, we're looking to do about 1.15 million within the first 3 years, and that makes a net profit of about 400,000. So there will be a return on the investment with investors, and then long term we then go into the model of moving the operational side into a facilities-based side, a bit like the five-star football centres, which all started this way. You know, the five-star football market started about 30 years ago, and really it took 7 or 8 years to establish. And this is why we think Tries and Touch Rugby and some of the other players in this market will take 4 or 5 years to develop. So long term, we do see a market of 40 or 50 Tries rugby centres playing touch rugby, tag rugby in the evenings, lots of children's programmes, sweating the asset. We expect to have better revenue streams than the football because we have to do that because the game is smaller. So that's where the investment is long term in terms of facilities and property. But at this initial stage, it's proof of concept, although which we've kind of done with our various pilots we've run. So yeah, it's a good investment for investors interested in the game.